Good, you?
I'm good. I really wasn't trying to shun you.
We're going to send it
Okay.
from St. Michael. Good on what we're doing.
Spinning. Ben, what, no?
Ben has a conflict on the section.
Yeah, not more than two though, but we can, the two of us can fit in there and exercise.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian, if I may interrupt,
And I got rid of it.
But boy, are they.
I got in touch with folks with business, and Ron's been working with them this past week, so we don't have to mention the name of the business. I wrote two reports, one that had the name in it, one that didn't. They asked if they, got everything done, if we could just avoid it. But I wanted to let you know ahead of time.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Carol, you heard that too, okay?
No, I didn't.
We don't have to mention the name of that business we talked about at the loan committee. They've been working with Ron and with me, and particularly with Ron this past week, to get things taken care of.
We're getting the loans closed, right, that's what you're looking at.
Discretion sometimes.
All right, it's 12:01. Let's call the meeting to order. Please call roll.
Larson.
Here.
Black. Blair.
Here.
Lindy.
Here.
Peck. Portland.
Here.
Alves.
Here.
Milford.
Approval of the minutes from May 11th, 2021, regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Ben.
Diane,
Public hearing, St. Michael rental.
need a vote.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. We need to vote. Call roll.
No, this one's not a roll. This is just a voice.
Because you don't need a vote for minutes.
We just did.
No, we just did a
No,
motion.
you took a motion in a second.
Oh.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I see none. Hear none, see none. Hearing, or public hearing, St. Michael Rental LLC loan request.
We did a motion to open the public hearing.
We did a motion to open the public hearing.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Bills and communications.
Well, now we have to have the meeting.
Any comments in the public hearing? Anybody might want to make any comments in the public hearing?
Anybody want to make comments?
Hearing none, we need a motion to close the public hearing.
Well,
Mike on.
I guess I'd just like to discuss this whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, but isn't that, we'll discuss that under new business,
I was going
Ron?
to bring it down on the new business, talk about the new business, okay?
Or we want to do it?
Yeah. So motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close?
Move.
Second?
So moved.
Larson. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
None? Okay. Bills and communications. Review of accounts payable, May 18th, 2021, June 1st, 2021, June 15th, 2021. Any questions, comments? I didn't see anything crazy. Okay. Reports, delinquencies,
We have none?
financial reports, April 2021 and May 2021.
The financial reports are emailed to you with each fund. In the packet is cash balances. There is nothing unusual on any of the balances, any of the accounts. And April, May, there's, they're all self-explanatory, I guess. The only other thing I want to mention is that Brady Martz did our audit and financial statements this year. They presented to the council last Tuesday. I have paper copies. I also have electronic copies. If anybody would like one, I can email them to. You can read at your leisure. When, instead of counting sheep, you can look at the page when you're trying to go to sleep. No, so the audit went well. The fund balance for the general fund went up $269,000 approximately, and there were no findings. Our CARES dollars passed the federal single audit, which was a huge thing this year, which we'll be doing again for the next few years. We have done them in the past because we've had a PFA loan for our wastewater that we've been using, but this was way more extensive because of the CARE dollars. And everything that we approved for payment passed their inspection. So thank you for your help in making those decisions. So
great.
they did pay off, so thank you. Any questions? And we're starting the budget process again now, so.
All over.
Done with the audit, start with the budget, so. Thank you.
Anything else? No. Directors' reports, May 2021.
More normal month.
It's a what?
More normal month.
Oh,
So if you have any questions, or anything standing out, or curious about anything, just ask.
questions? No. Unfinished business? None. New business, loan request, St. Michael Rental LLC.
Site Michael Rental LLC is acquiring the building that was the Pomida or Shopko building. There will be two tenants in the building. One will be a furniture store that will be about 31,000 square feet. The other will be an unnamed tenant. The name of the furniture store has not yet been disclosed. They're asking as part of their package for a loan from the EDA for $150,000. Because it was $150,000, it triggered a public hearing requirement that we did earlier in the meeting. Ron wants to have some comments on this, and Ron and I think we share thoughts on this. Remember when we had to deal with the loans and stuff earlier, and we capped them at $24,999 because of the extra requirements? When you hit $25,000, there are extra requirements when you hit $150,000 as opposed to $149 $1,414,999. And it means that you have to have city council approval of the loan and a bunch of other, in the public hearing and several other things. Ron, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, I'll just clarify a couple of things. First of all, the $24,999, that was a grant, so it was given away. This is actually going to be a loan through the MIF fund. And then just another clarification, because it's $150,000, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a business subsidy, according to the statute. But in this case, I think what ended up happening is that with just the request being we want $150,000 from the city, and the fact that we, according to our policies, have a 4% interest as opposed to in the financial market, it's a 5% interest. It triggers the fact that it's a business subsidy. And in doing such, it really, in this case, because it's a loan instead of a grant, in my opinion, and speaking with Paul, it really doesn't give us a whole lot of benefit. It's going to, over the next 5 years, require us to do a bunch of reports. It would require St. Michael's to do a bunch of reports. And realistically, because the statute calls it a business subsidy, realistically, if you look at the subsidy, if it was technically going to be a subsidy, it'd probably be about $5,000 in interest, as opposed to $150,000. And because of the conservative nature of the statute, it is being classified as a business subsidy. However, if in fact for some reason the business didn't reach the goal of 7 employees at $13 an hour, then all of a sudden it potentially triggers a repayment of the entire $150,000, or it could be an argument of some type of a pro rata share. And it just, in this case, I was going to go back to this group and say, do we really want to incur more expense and for us as well as this group, or would we rather just have the loan being $149,999, which wouldn't trigger it as a business subsidy, and it would also eliminate a number of different documents that I would have to draft. And for instance, right now, the loan has been technically going to the building, so to speak. They wanted to put it in the limited liability company, which is only going to own the building. Well, they would automatically not be able to satisfy the goal requirements regarding retention and creation of employees, because that's going to be in a separate business. So then I have to do other documentation, get other corporate documents and assignments and other things so that we can have a mortgage against a business that's, I mean, you can see where this kind of
just dominoes.
And all this can be fixed with $1.
And all this can be fixed with $1.
But they have to ask for that dollar amount and not because right now they're asking for $150,000.
Well, right now what
they're asking for, right?
Either that, or we could just approve $149,999, and then it doesn't trigger the business subsidy. So that was going to be my recommendation. I just wanted the group to discuss it. I wanted to have an explanation.
They don't need a formal request for that amount. We can do that
You can
without.
approve anything up to the amount that they asked for. Ron reached out to me while I was gone last week, and what he reached out to was echoing my thoughts as well, that it's triggering a lot of things that are not necessary, and we'd be better off saving the $1, which in the whole amount is relatively insignificant, but
And it makes
it
sense.
saves a ton of work.
And I would think Mr. St. Michael would agree that he doesn't have to do additional paperwork and things like that. losing the $1 is not going to break the deal.
That and the red tape.
Yeah, that
And
really-
for full disclosure, because I know he has an attorney, I personally, since Paul wasn't out, I haven't reached out to him about any of it because technically I can't talk to him.
Sure.
So I haven't ran this by him. I guess Paul could do that, but I don't see any reason that it would make a difference.
Well, then can I make a motion that we approve the $149,999 at 4% over 10 years?
Yes.
And then we do not need to have the city council affirm it, is that right, Paul? Ron?
We can have them ratify it, but the only reason that they were actually having to put it on the agenda is because it was a business subsidy and the specific statute
Okay.
requires us to have the local authorities or governing bodies.
So that won't be in the
Approval.
motion, and you guys can decide if,
So it wouldn't be necessary because it's actually EDA money.
It's already on the agenda, so
So they can ratify it, but it's not a necessary requirement now if it's not a business subsidy.
So at the meeting tonight, then, Paul, you'll explain that we don't need to,
between Ron and I, we will explain that we're doing it this way because of the requirements, red tape imposed by the state of Minnesota. And I will talk with Rob St. Michael so that he knows what's going on.
do we want to amend the agenda for tonight's meeting?
After the meeting, we'll have to talk to David to see if we, but the thing is, it's good to have the item out because people ask what's going on with that building. Sure. This is an opportunity for everyone to see it, and we can let the council know and have everybody know what's going on and why we're doing it the way we're doing it. So that it becomes informational and a teaching advisory activity as well. Why aren't you doing $150,000 loans? Because that $1 makes a difference in the reporting requirements.
Sure.
So we can do it, and the city council doesn't have to. I don't see it as an issue at the city council, whether it's $150 or $149,999, but it's an opportunity to explain to the city council what's going on, and that we can save them a lot of work and save us a lot of work and save the applicant a lot of work over time.
And it shows our due diligence as a city and as an EDA that we are open for
Yeah.
people to come over here and we'll work with it.
Yeah, I think it's good to get it out there that we're doing this.
Absolutely.
So,
And it
does
also
that sound good to you,
lets people
Dale?
know there's something coming in the building.
Yeah, there's a lot of,
There's a lot of
I'm happy
precedent.
something's coming in the building.
Yeah, there's a lot of
That's
precedent already.
important, and I
Right.
think that is important to make sure that it's there. Otherwise, it would just be an item on the work session, a real quick item on the work session. This is what's going on.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll end up in the paper. So,
Yeah.
And in fact, I was called by the one radio station because they were asking, they heard a rumor that there was a drugstore coming to town. So I went over and asked, do we have a permit in the name of the applicant? And the answer was yes. So I was able to let the radio station know, yes, there is a drugstore coming into town. The name that is on the permit is Walgreens. And I said, have you heard about what's going on at the old Shopko Pomida building? He said, no. I said, because we have a loan application, which is now public information, there is a furniture store going into 31,000 square feet of that building. So when you heard it on the radio, it's because I was able to share information that had become public information because we had applications. The applications trigger public information, very simply stated. There are a lot of other things that do. But those in particular will trigger public information so we can share information then.
great. Yeah, it's all good news,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think Ben seconded?
Yep.
Yep, Ben seconded. Call roll.
Yes, it involves dollars.
Larson,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Grindy,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Elms,
Yes.
It's just exciting to see something happening.
Things moving.
Positive
Yeah,
things.
the radio station had a lot of fun with that too that day. Yeah, what's going on over in East Grand Parks, man? They're really, what's going on over there? We're not doing much over here building apartments. What's going on over there?
Wasn't it fun having all the good news?
It was listening to it. It was
Was
fun
it
that they
JT?
were. It was fun to hear them having a good time with it.
Who was it?
JT?
Well, I think it was Doug Barrett.
Doug
and-
Barrett.
Doug Barrett?
Yeah,
Okay.
and whoever, I don't remember who the talk
So
show
that,
guy
yeah,
was
his
at
news
that
is
time.
on many different stations.
I don't remember if it was Ryan or which one was on there at that time that was talking. But yeah, they had a lot of fun with it.
Well, it's nice to have good news.
Yes, finally. All right, item,
The good news is how few restaurants and how few businesses suffer. We lost during the pandemic, too.
what,
That's
one?
really good news, and that's all the effort that all of you guys did.
Well, that's what it's all about, too. All right, Sawgrass Court paving and specials, impact on lot pricing.
Let me pull it out, because the lot price, we own 2 lots on Sawgrass. The lot prices for each lot is $55,000. That street has never been paved.
So it's curb and gutter now, but no infill, or?
I
Right.
think it's a
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's gravel inside the curb and
Right.
gutter? So, okay.
So they petitioned, the residents petitioned to do an improvement project to pave the street. It has an impact, or will have an impact upon the cost. These numbers are not firm, but I wanted to bring it up for you to start thinking about it so we can ratify a number in the future. We have always said in the past that we needed to have at least $12,000 to cover our expenses when we sell a lot. And Carla knows, I'm putting Carla in the spot, but Carla has information also that in case our costs were higher for a particular lot, to wrap that into it. We have the original specials for those, and I put all that information into the report. And the question is, for you to start thinking about, when we get the firm numbers for this and we know what it is, how do we want to price the lots? Okay? So no action is required today, and Ron had his hand up.
Well, I just have a question. If I can recall correctly, and somebody can, Carla, you could correct me, but when we repriced those lots, I thought that we turned around and added all the specials. Then we turned around and, for lack of a better description, said, okay, here was the lot price. We kind of spread the specials out and then added it to the lot price, so it's being sold with the specials included. But when we did that, did we already add specific specials over and above to those 2 lots that would include the cost of the paving and concrete for the other portions of the lots? Because you might need to adjust it that way.
We actually have a spreadsheet, and I did not include that with this.
Paul, can I ask, what do the other lots sell for that are complete?
The other lots had different lot prices, and some, a couple were $55,000, and a couple were, I want to say in the 20s, but I don't remember.
That would include a full street at that price?
No, they are also going to have specials.
Okay.
For the paving project, they will also have specials.
Across River Road, there are some, but they are smaller lots than these.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, because, these have, I know it's a cul-de-sac, but they have a
Right.
very large backyard. So there is more
it's
square
all
footage of
pie.
land than there is on the water's edge. Most of the most of the lots that are for sale there now.
Okay.
I think there's an addition error, because if you have on the second spot, it's lot 7, because if you look at the last 2 lines, the new totals for the specials would be 50,
362,000.
62, yep, instead of just 60.
I have a question. So the price of the specials, that all of that special assessment, that's all built in when you buy the lot? It's not necessarily tacked
City
on?
lots, we have always included the specials as part of the lot price.
But would we be better off marketing it
But do we
different?
have to do that, would be my question. 'cause
I
we-
agree.
We've priced these things out of the market, and they're going to sit empty now.
Well, When you can.
My opinion.
When you compare them to the lots that are on the west side of the river, even at this price, they are $50,000 to $75,000 less than the asking price for the lots over here.
But if I was to buy a lot that, in East Grand Forks, that's owned by a private developer, okay? What are those lots going for?
$30,000.
$30,000.
Plus specials.
Plus specials. So really-
Which you
Look
can
at the
add
specials you
your,
have here,
you know, it's
and
up to you.
add that to the 30,000.
But what
They're
they're,
at 30,000 for what they're doing for the land price, and we're at 12,000.
I think what Mr. Larson's trying to get at is why do we include them? Nobody else does on their purchase price. It's this much for the lot.
Right, and you know, the cost of building a house is so high. We add this to that upfront cost, and people just can't get to that down payment. And I think that we're cutting out a lot of potential opportunities to build on these lots, where people might want to stretch the cost out over however many years.
And we could do that for these lots. The reason we didn't do it for the other lots is because those streets and infrastructure have been
Previous.
put in almost 20 years ago now. And so when we talked about that, would be stretching, you know, by the time you paid off that, you'd have to do it again because there might have to be some work done. Now, with this street being brand new, there probably could be the option when we sell it that we can sell the lot, and at least the street ones could be sent to the county to be amortized over the same way we'll be doing the other ones. So the other homeowners in that cul-de-sac is not going to be paying cash for them. We'll send them to the county, and the county will assess them over probably 15 years, I think, for a street. And we could have that option to do that for our two lots.
We could leave the selling price at 55 and do it for the new improvement. So we have options.
Yeah.
The whole purpose today is to bring it out into the open, talk about it, and talk about the impact. Because when I looked at the specials for these two lots, I saw what it was going to do to the lot prices, and it caused concern for me the same way it did for you. While I know that our lot prices over here are significantly less expensive than they are generally in Grand Forks, I also know that these are very expensive for the lots that we've been having in Water's Edge or Cooley View. This is very expensive for the lots the city has had. Most of the lots the city has had have been in the $35,000 to $40,000 range.
Yeah.
Not all, but most of them.
I think my opinion is that we need to continue to have aggressively priced lots here in East Grand Forks to promote development. And I do think for a lot of homeowners, especially first-time homeowners, they're looking to lower that initial down payment to build their first house, right? And so if we can stretch that out, I think that we'll sell these lots quicker.
Remember, one of the things that we do, we have a couple of programs. One program in particular is the builder comes in. We will do, as the private developers also do, put $1,000 down on the lot so you can build the home, and then the lot price is rolled into your 30-year mortgage. Basically,
Right.
we collect this money at that point in time.
Yep, and that's a good program as well, but I think you know where I'm going is let's
Yeah.
see what we can do to lower these, because I think that's what's going to trigger building on these lots. If they stay like this, I really think they're just going to stay empty.
Stagnant.
I think our marketing needs to be competitive so that they don't get that sticker shock. They look at ours is up here. They don't look that includes all of those specials.
Correct.
And they're just thinking they're going to have specials on top of that because the other lots they're looking at probably have specials on
No
them.
matter where you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember, we almost have no lots left on the golf course, that front of the golf course.
And the good thing is we have those realtors that are familiar with that, explain that to them when people are looking at them, so.
But this is just for discussion.
Oh, yeah,
today.
no, that's
We
good.
will- What we'll do is we'll revisit it when we get the exact numbers, we'll revisit, and then the EDA can provide direction on how you want to deal with it.
And I'll check to make sure exactly how many years that we assess a street project over.
And you mentioned there being very few city lots left. Is that,
I didn't
what's
count.
the right number? And when do we need to think about that that's a problem? Maybe that's
I'm
not
sure I
a
understand
problem
what
for,
you're asking, Dan, I'm sorry.
well, if there's no lots left to build on, it's hard to get more people in town.
Talk about,
so.
there are only think there are 5 lots or 6 lots that back onto the golf course. That's it. 3 of those are on 23rd. One of them is Lot 10. That's it. That's on the southwest corner where 23rd is.
How does the decision get made to expand? Because there was a phase 2 of that project that would go north, and
Well, first off,
how does that
it will
happen?
be when almost all the lots are sold. We have roughly 35 to 40 lots left after what the realtors have helped us with. And then the next decision is going to be, should we sell it in chunks of land, or should the city continue to be in the development business? And it's not a business that the city does well. It's, okay, these lots, I suspect these lots would have been sold a long time ago for private development.
Absolutely.
So it might be wiser to have a private developer ultimately buy a chunk of land and develop lots, and there's still land that surrounds the golf course.
Yeah.
All the way around.
Do you think the fact that we have had so many lots that the city has owned has deterred a developer from coming in and looking?
Yes. It also affects the development in other parts of town, because our prices are better than they can sell them, and they get lot price plus specials on them.
Because they want to make money off of it. I mean, it's a business.
What's the name of the game?
Business to make
That's
money,
right,
yes.
yeah. And we're at the advantage that we just want our money out.
I think it would be an interesting conversation for a future meeting to talk about next steps. You know, what's the next property to sell to a developer? What's the trigger to do that? You know, golf course and other areas. There's a few new members here. I mean, Ben and I especially are new. It'd be nice to kind of get caught up and understand what the plan is going forward.
What I would suggest is we go through the summer. We've already sold 4 lots this year. In fact, Ron just gave me envelopes with checks for 2 of them.
Great.
So I'd like to go through what we do this summer. We had 8 last year. We have 4 this year that the realtors have done. The program will come up for renewal with the realtors this winter, and start talking about it then, about how long do we think that we're going to have before we have build out of the city lots. Most of Phase 2, the single-family lots in Phase 2 remain. There aren't very many lots left in Phase 1 relative to the size of the development. Most of the lots in Phase 2 are still there, and these are 2 lots that are left in Phase 3. Yeah, it's a future discussion, and I think that what we need to do is get to the point where we can see how much supply of lots do we have remaining, how many years will it be before we have built out, and at what point do we want to try to sell the land, or whatever option we recommend to the city council to do to be able to create additional lots out near the golf course.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I believe the 2050 land use plan should be wrapped up about that time, so these two should dovetail together.
And I think the plan, old plans plus that one, I'm sure will show residential.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any more discussion? Go ahead, Stone.
Just for clarification, when this job is done, the city doesn't pay the special assessments up front, do they? On these lots? How does that work?
We have, most of them are bonded, and we just make a payment, so we're actually holding those.
Bonds?
Yeah, they're built within the bond, so.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Yeah, and in our budget, now when we get to our budget again, some of them are part of the 2015 bond, which we still have to put in our budget to levy, to put into that account. So we are levying the payment basically in our budget, which is about $80,000 right now.
Okay, so back to Councilman Larson's question there. So the homeowner or whoever bought that lot, we could have the option of, if they just wanted to pay the lot price and then assess their stuff like over years, we could do that pretty easy then.
On these
If that's
particular.
what
On
the
these two
homeowner wanted.
properties,
Yeah, on
yes,
these
but-
particular
and the
lots.
These two lots, yes. On the old lots, because of when the improvements were done, it would be much more difficult.
Right, yeah, I understood that. But
Yes.
yeah, I was referring to these two
Yes.
because it does get pretty pricey, like you said. And so we
Yes.
could have the option to do that if somebody wanted to, so.
Yep.
Okay.
At least for the street part. I don't know when the curb and gutter and the water and the sewer and all that were put in, but for the street. So we could keep it at the price we have, and then the street amount could be assessed with the,
On top.
with the county, yes.
Right, okay.
Anything else? Thank you. Deadlines for loan closings.
We've never set deadlines for loan closings. Sometimes they go longer than we feel comfortable, and that also provides difficulty for finance department, because we try to get them to go through the city council, and have them ultimately approved in the city council and the checklistings, and when it drags on and on, we can't complete that. It leaves something open-ended. So what we talked about at the loan committee, and what we want to do is set a deadline so that from the date of EDA approval, a business has so many days to close on the loan. And if they don't, then the loan will terminate. So what we did is we said 60 days.
Well, you back up.
What did I miss?
The loan will terminate. What loan are you talking about if they're buying?
Future loan. If the EDA approves, we're talking about business loans, Ron.
There's no loan to terminate if no loan has been acted on. That's what Ron's saying.
Yeah,
right?
I'm just trying to.
You're cart before the horse a little bit, so
Sorry,
the application
approval,
would get
The
pulled,
approval will be terminated, it will end,
right?
okay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't say it right. The approval will end if they haven't closed within 60 days. Okay? And that's just, we will set that as part of a normal deadline for loans.
And I would assume if there was extenuating circumstances for some reason, they could come
EDA can
and
change
ask and
things, yes.
ask for an extension of that. But
Yes.
just because someone,
Yeah, so
forgot to
in the
open the
recommendation, we'll have to put in there that without,
Well, what they do is, like with everything, they can come back in and ask.
without an extension granted by the
Yep.
EDA.
So-
Okay, so I'll make a recommendation that we put a deadline of 60 days on any loan applications without
Approvals, yeah.
approvals, without extension possibilities from the EDA. That makes sense?
second, go ahead, thank you, Scott.
Any further discussion? Call roll.
Larson,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes,
That's okay.
Randy,
Yes.
Doesn't hurt.
Yes.
Melms,
Yes,
Thank you. Industrial Park expansion funding source says EDA suggestion for uses of infield building sales revenue.
This is something that you asked to discuss at your next meeting. And what I've done is I've included a lot of information in here. So I don't usually write something this long. You guys know that because I can't. So what are your thoughts? There are funding sources. Businesses, industrial businesses often will look at, they would like shovel-ready sites, so they want to have things ready where they can just pull the building permit and get started. But it's awfully expensive to develop land unless you have some way to have revenue to pay for the cost of developing that land. And you had talked last time when we talked about moving ahead on the infill building, what your thoughts were on the infill building. So it's all here.
so what we really were looking at last time we met was if the city council would decide to sell the infill building, which is that their prerogative, not ours, since it is their building, that we thought, let's give them some suggestions as to how they could use money that was economic development money at one time to help with economic development. Otherwise, they could use it to say, to fix Parks and Rec or whatever. I mean,
Building belongs to the city, not to the EDA.
yep, so they can do whatever they want. But if we can show them that there's a need and that we have ideas, they might then be more willing to look at using that money to continue economic development, right?
Yes.
Is that what our
Correct.
hope is?
Correct.
I just have 2 members of the city council sitting on this board who can help to carry it.
Some
I
clout.
think- I think that's similar to what they did when the
Riverwalk.
Riverwalk Center or Bob Moore purchased the theater building. I think what they ended up doing, because of the economic development part of that, they funded different loan accounts in the EDA with that money.
Yeah, I certainly support the concept is if we sell the building, the proceeds get reinvested into the other future business opportunities in East Grand Forks, and the industrial park seems like it'd be a win. I'd be interested if there's demand out there. I'd be a little nervous if there's no interest in the private sector to build out there. We shouldn't run all the utilities. That seems a little scary to me. And I know you can't say, yes, this company wants to build if we did this, but just to have a sense of, is there anyone that's interested generally in our community? Is there any businesses that have reached out to you, Paul, that, hey, we would do this if we had a shovel-ready site? Just to give us something to grab onto to really ensure that this is the right investment.
The only business is the one that predecessor who talked about, that is located, has built and is located in Grand Forks. And they were looking at opportunities from both states to see their best package, which is what a wise business will do anyway, and they decided to do that. We have not had years ago, businesses would call up the Economic Development Office and talk about it. Today, which is going back to the discussion for, Josh, you remember it. Today, part of the reason we went through all the marketing efforts and trying to upgrade the website and things like that is that businesses will look at the website, and you may never know that a business has contacted you when they're looking for a site. If we were to make a change and have some shovel-ready sites on the website, then we may see some interest. The problem is the chicken and the egg, which comes first. How can we truly afford, as a community, to make that investment unless we know we have some way to do it? And when you look at the economic development TIF, for example, you're going to be paying off parts of the TIF and using the revenues from the things that are built there to pay off your expenses. But if you don't, TIFs fail when they don't have somebody who builds on there. Ideally, what we do is we'd work with some partners so we can share the risk and share the costs for doing some of those things. That's why I mentioned some of the partners in here in the report that I talked about, because that way the city is at less risk and it provides an opportunity to create space at a relatively cost-effective means. We also have difficulties because Minnesota ranks in the middle of the states with regards to its burdens on businesses, but we sit next to a state that's in the lowest 5 for tax burdens. So when it's looked at relative to our neighbor, it's not perceived as good a deal as it is. We wouldn't have as many Fortune 500 companies in Minnesota if we were not a good place to work and not a good place to do business in. And remember the stuff that you saw, the videos you saw? But relative to North Dakota, it's difficult. There are border cities programs that we can tap into. There's the tax disparity program, which effectively caps the property tax for businesses, and that includes apartment buildings, for example. and the state on your property tax bill, there's a tax credit that shows up. That's what that is. And the state picks up that part of the property tax for our businesses. We also have the ability to use the border cities tax credits, and we've talked about different ways to use those. We have primarily used those to write down property taxes for businesses that are investing in the community for their new investments. We don't have to do it that way. Moorhead, for example, uses their funds as a way to reduce the workers' comp costs to an amount comparable to workers' comp costs in North Dakota. There's also a way to use the border cities tax credits to give tax credits to the businesses for retaining retaining jobs and creating new jobs. I think it's $1,500 tax credit per employee for retaining jobs if the jobs are threatened to go elsewhere, or $3,000 tax credit per new employee. So there are different ways to do it. We've talked about that. I think it may have happened before you were on the board, Brian. So there are different things that we can do. I think we need to do a lot of thinking about how to get there. I think when we get a bid on the infill building, we can then start thinking seriously, because we will have an idea of dollars when we have the appraisal and we have things like that. But I don't know that I'd want to give the amount of the appraisal in public. Okay, that's a chip in our pocket to hold on to.
Sure.
So what I'm saying is that it's another thought topic that is not ripe at this point to deal with making firm decisions, but it is time to start thinking about how to do it. I asked Carla to include on our capital budget a few years ago the money to expand the industrial park, to purchase the land so we can expand the industrial park, and we just keep moving that back in time because we know that's a future expense, but we don't know when it will occur. I included in here an old summary of some of the land that is available in the industrial park. And Ben, you worked at Zavrel. I talked with Dave from time to time about what to do with some of those parcels. So I have referred people to Dave who are looking for small parcels. So I work with that part of it, but we don't have people who have come in and said, I want to put in a 50 or 100,000 square foot warehouse or building or something like that at this point.
Okay.
And we just need to be prepared, but we need to also be thinking about the roads in our existing infrastructure, particularly the street. There's more infrastructure than that needs to be looked at in the industrial park so that we can make sure that our businesses know how supportive we are of them as well. And I know that you
10th Street
and Dale are struggling with those issues at the city council level. We've looked at funding places for things like that. There are some possible opportunities, the TED and Teddy grants that I included in brief summary of it here. So there are things, but it's a case of looking at the timing. This year's round for TED and Teddy, we wouldn't be able to do justice to an application, but we may be able to do justice to an application in 2 years. And they usually come up every other year.
So would you like to see Paul give us a 1, 2, 3, 4 option plan, or what do you?
I support this option, to be honest. I think this would be a good place to invest that money, especially with the 10th Street project that the council voted for. It seems to work together.
Sure.
I'd be interested to see, visually, I guess I could look up these parcels that would need to be purchased and just to continue this discussion, I think, in general terms on who we could attract, how far our money could go. If we sell the infill building for $1 million, just make up a number, that doesn't go real far putting in infrastructure, right? It just doesn't. So we need to be realistic that we're not going to build this Air Force base out there. You know, it's 1 or 2 parcels could be shovel ready maybe. So yeah, I like the direction, I guess, and I support this.
I just have one other, Ron mentioned that when the Moore process went through, that we had used some of those monies to look at our loan funds and to put money in. Are any of our loan funds in need of additional funds? Are we getting to the point that we may want to say, ooh, we should maybe recommend that some of that money be?
I would say at this time, no, and like,
Okay.
in fact, like we have the down payment assistance program, and virtually hasn't been used for 3 years. We haven't had even a new applicant in 5 years, I don't think.
We've had one.
One?
Applicant since I got in here. I've had about 3 or 4 requests. They look at our program. They also look at a program that's run by Polk County Housing. And the Polk County Housing program is a little bit more generous than ours in terms of the program. And they will often go to there instead of to us.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we.
It's there and available, but we
Yeah.
just haven't had a lot.
Sure.
There hasn't been a lot of need. And we also, there are other programs through the state of Minnesota or through the United States Department of Agriculture Rural Development has loan programs that are available in East Grand Forks that are not available over across the river because we're a smaller
At
community.
agriculture.
Yeah.
Yep.
But isn't it income-based, ours?
Both of
And
both
it's
the
fairly
county
low?
program and the RD program and the
You can't even
the
qualify.
county and us and RD are
So
all
you might want to
income-based.
revisit that. What's that?
All 3 programs are
But,
income.
but what I guess I don't have the parameters, but I mean, realistically, the first-time home buyers program, or if the income levels are to a point where you can't qualify, then that's why we've only had one application in 5 years. It might be something that you want to reconsider or look at or modify or.
We went from 140,000 to 200,000 and from 70,000 income to 100,000 income. The county program's about 106,000 for their income level, and they're 225 for homes. We only allow it on existing homes. The county does it on new homes as well. The stuff for the RD is more restricted than either of those programs. But yeah, it's another topic to come back and revisit. What are we trying to accomplish, and what do we have to do to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish?
And part of the problem is we just don't have the home base of those $150,000 to $200,000 homes.
Well,
Right.
but that's the point.
Right, right, and it's just getting worse with the interest rates, the prices are just going up.
As time goes by in general.
Well, but especially too with the interest rates,
Yep.
people don't have to, the payment isn't as high because the interest rates is lower.
All right, move on. Meeting date conflicts, October 12th and November 9th.
Ben has, I'm putting you on the spot, Ben.
No, go ahead. I can put myself on the spot.
A couple times
Yeah.
that he has a standing conflict on the second Tuesday of the month.
So it's all about Ben, is what you're saying.
It's important, all of our members are important.
Yes.
Remember, we accommodated
But Ben's
Ron
special.
to try to work around his court calendar as well. So, based upon that, if you wish to continue meeting at noon on Tuesdays, I would suggest we meet on either the 3rd or the 4th Tuesday of the month, depending upon Ron's court calendar, so that we can have the best of all the minds participating in the meeting.
By meeting on the 3rd or the 4th, how does that impact what we do in getting it to the city council?
We have very few things that actually have to go to the city council, okay? And we took actions today, and we discussed about how we can have one fewer thing, because we, let me put, today, what I asked for is to put the item on the agenda tonight, even though it's a work session. What they're doing is they're holding a special meeting, not just for this loan, but for another item as well. And the city council is accommodating that we have to have something done right away. Okay? If it's on the fourth Tuesday of the month, that means that we could go to the first Tuesday of the month, which is city council action day. So it doesn't have a huge impact, and if it's something that really needs to accommodate an immediate deadline, then I would ask for the city council to accommodate the needs.
Okay, because that's my only concern is that we give you time and staff time if there's anything that has to be prepared for the council.
Fortunately, I can pull reports and copy and paste.
Really good,
It
huh?
makes things easy.
All right.
And update to include the EDA actions and EDA recommendations.
If we had any issues like that with the city or whatever, we could just have a special meeting too, couldn't you? I mean,
Could.
just call that, like,
Well-
we've done that before too, and just work through that part if we needed to, but
You are tonight.
if it was really, really that important to get done,
Okay,
why,
good. I just didn't want us to
yeah,
be stuck and not,
and then dates, yep.
yep, I just think back with, and hopefully we never have to go through that again, but all the stuff that we went through with COVID and trying to get everything with all those dates and put together, hopefully we don't have that ever again, but we learned we can be fairly flexible. So I'll approve the revisions. Move to approve. Is that what we needed?
Yes, please.
Second.
Good? Is Ben happy?
All in favor?
Yeah. No, wait, no, Ben, are you?
I'm happy.
I just care if Ben is happy.
Anything for Ben, right?
Yep, there we go. All in
Get it
favor?
all, we get it all.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Don't go yet, two small things. What it means is October will be the 26th, November will be the 23rd, okay?
Follow, you sent us that follow here, right?
And December is the
December did
21st?
not have a conflict.
So we're staying,
It says on here, though, December 7th change to the 21st.
Don't follow your agenda, follow the memorandum, I think.
I have to get back that far in the agenda packet.
The last three change.
The last
according
three
to
And
this.
that's because the 23rd and the 7th are only 2 weeks apart, there's Thanksgiving and everything. Okay? So
Okay.
yes, it'll change
Good, I'll
3
keep
weeks.
that page.
at the end.
Brenda will remind me.
Couple of things. I included in your packet, chamber event, city
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 Department.
to farm event. They're interesting and they're fun to go to. If you have a chance to go to that, I would suggest going to it. It's sometimes on this side of the river, sometimes on the other side of the river, but it's a fun event to go to. Interesting enough, I cannot go this year because I'm having cataract surgery, so maybe I can see things in the future.
I've been to both sides. It's very interesting to listen to this sometimes on what's going on.
Next thing, we have sent to the businesses, I was working with our city engineer, we sent to the businesses information that talks about the Demers Avenue project. The Demers Avenue project is going to start on Monday, June 28th. The Sorley Bridge closure is scheduled for June 21st through July 30th, so there's the last weekend in July is the only weekend that the Sorley Bridge will be closed. We contacted all the businesses for asking for input. This one is acceptable. There's no one weekend that is totally great, but there's no events or something. And there is a movie opening up in the middle of July that we were asked specifically if we could make sure that the bridge is open for that because it is part of a popular franchise of movies. So that's being accommodated, but it was great to be able to work with the businesses to find something that works for them as well.
Sure.
And they responded that they were happy they were glad that we were able to talk with them and go to the office as well. And one other thing, we received from the Minnesota Business Finance Corporation their June SBA 504 interest rates for loans. For 10-year 504 interest is 2.623. For a 20-year loan is 2.770, and for a 25-year loan is 2.887. So it's a place where money is relatively inexpensive. We, as an EDA, don't compete with people who oil and gas. This is a source I know that, for example, St. Michael's gone through this group of part of they actually going through this group for part of this money. This is something we get on a monthly basis, hopefully more than once with the so.
Well, Ron's rates are cheaper than that. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Awesome. Call roll. All in favor, I should say.
Aye.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.